A Bay fan,
No,
right?
no, I'm
All sports, all plays. Yeah. All sports, all plays. All sports, all plays. 365, we making a plays. You talking the game, get you through the days. We're high in the court, the dime in the lane. Variety topics never the same. All presentation, sports information. In the airways, taking the nation. All sport, all plays, like working your faces. Grace up the field, so type the laces. All sports, all plays. Network. All sports, all plays. Network. We on top of our game. All sports, all plays. All sports, all plays.
Hello, everyone. I am the Sarge. I hope everyone is having a great day, and welcome to the best baseball show that there is online with the ASAP Network. I'm here joined by Yoel, not the Roman Reigns big dog, but Heyman. How you doing?
Hey, what's up, man? How's it going, everybody? Good to see you guys out there. It's baseball season. Let's get at it.
That's great. So spring training actually started yesterday for a couple of teams. Who is the team that you follow?
I'm a diehard New York Mets fan. I grew up in Jersey, and my father was a Brooklyn Dodger fan. So once the Brooklyn Dodgers left town, they all became Met fans. So I am a diehard Met fan.
Oh, awesome. Next, we got Greg, the cancellation. How you doing?
I'm doing pretty good. How you guys?
Doing great, doing great. Well, I don't think we have to say who's your team you follow. But anyways, which baseball team do you follow the most?
I follow the St. Louis Cardinals. I've been following them since I was a kid. I was a huge Whitey Herzog fan. I loved the way that he managed and coached, and he got pretty fired up at times. So I've been following them since I was about 9, 10, 11 years old. When they were really a good power team in the early to mid '80s. So yeah, I've been following them pretty much my whole life.
So with the big red machine, right?
That's Cincinnati, right?
Yeah, that was Cincinnati.
That's
No,
true.
those Cardinal teams in the '80s, man, with Willie McGee and Ozzie and all those guys, man, they were a serious ball club, man.
I was testing you on that one.
Yeah,
all right, so we got
defense
some. All right, so we got some house keeping rules we just need to do. So, as you know, with the ASAP Network, we have T-shirts. These T-shirts are only $14.99 plus shipping and handling. Just order. I know that Valentine's has passed, and if you did get one, guess what? Mother's Day is coming up also. But $14.99. Order the T-shirt, you get it ASAP. So, with that being said, we're gonna get started with the full count. So, the winter meetings was kind of dull, as I thought, and with that, it seems like during the mid January, that's when everything started heating up with free agency. I want to start with Greg. Who do you think was a winner and the losers during the free agency?
That's a good question. I have my winners as for teams. I got the Padres. Of course, the Mets were big winners. They went out and got Lindor. They got Carlos Carrasco, which I think is still in that trade. I think that Kevin Gossman for the Giants was definitely a winner. He got a big time contract, not a name that you would think would get a big time contract, but I think he got the third highest deal out of everybody that was out there this year. I don't know. I think that Nolan Arenado definitely got a good deal. He got out of Colorado. He got a really good contract. So I think that Nolan Arenado, he's going to be pretty happy where he's at. He'll fit in nicely with the Cards. Losers, I think that the Phillies and Cubs kind of dropped the ball. Cubs definitely did. Fans of the 2016 World Series, they got to be disappointed. I mean, they lost a ton of people. They lost Schwarber. They might end up losing Chris Bryant because he's constantly talked about on the trade block. They're just kind of having a fire sale going on over there. They lost Yu Darvish. My A's, I think that, I also follow the Oakland A's. I think that they picked up Andrus, but I don't know. I think that it's closing in. It's now or never for them because I don't see them really doing much past next season, 2022. And I think for relief pitchers, it was a tough year too. A lot of teams aren't going out and getting relief pitchers. They're spending a lot of money trying to get some quality plug-in guys. So, you see right now Trevor Rosenthal is still out there for grabs. Just relief pitchers as a whole just aren't getting a bite from a lot of teams right now. So a lot of teams are going in trying to figure out maybe who their closer is going to be, but they're not going out and trying to get big names because relief pitchers have proven over the last few years to be pretty inconsistent. So I'd say that relief pitchers are probably, a loser in the free agent market this season. So,
speaking of free agent relief pitchers, you said you were at A's. What do you think of Sean Doolittle going to the Reds?
I think that's a pretty good pickup for the Reds. The Reds are one of those teams that's, I think they're kind of probably going to be right in the middle again of their division. They lost Bauer. Bauer pitched really well for him, but they couldn't hold on to him. Couldn't get him to re-sign. But I think that Sean Doolittle is a pretty good fit. He pitched pretty well in the postseason a couple seasons ago with the Nationals, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, I don't know. I think that he'll fit in pretty good.
All right, UL. So, you're saying you're a diehard Mets fan. Are you going to go with the Mets?
I'm going to go. One of the teams I'm going to go with is definitely the Mets. The Lindor trade was tremendous on so many levels. The Mets needed that big name, 5-star, 5-tool player in their lineup. They were missing that one person. Yeah, I mean, we've got Alonso. We've got Dominic Smith. We've got Conforto. We've got McNeil, who's a great leadoff hitter. But they needed that superstar player, especially at the shortstop position. New York has always been a place for stars, and I think the Mets are really trying to make that impression on everybody. So the Mets are number one. I'm going to disagree with Greg, and I think the Phillies did well in free agency. I think re-signing Realmuto, re-signing Didi Gregorius were two huge players to keep in that locker room. I mean, and as a Met fan, it hurts me to say that because I would have loved to see Realmuto on the Mets, but I do know why they didn't sign him because of injury reasons. But for the Phillies to keep those two core guys in their lineup is a great pickup. Another winner for me has got to be Toronto and George Springer. I mean, how can you not go wrong with putting George Springer at the top of that lineup? That Toronto team's young with Vladimir Guerrero. I call them the second generation with Guerrero, Bichette, and Craig Biggio's son. So with Springer in that lineup, I think Toronto has definitely hit it. And I got to say, the Dodgers signing Trevor Bauer is a home run. I mean, people are saying, well, was it a 1-year thing? No, Bauer's been pretty consistent. Yeah, he's a little nuts, but I think LA needs that pitching, especially since Kershaw cannot stay healthy, as we all know, especially getting in the later his year. So those are my winners. My loser is definitely, I'm going to go with Tampa as a loser because Tampa lost Blake Snell, Craig Morton, and all they signed was Michael Wacha. I mean, Michael Wacha pitched for the Mets last year, and Wacha was terrible. So for them to sign Wacha is like, all right, whatever, But people forget it's Tampa. You never know what they're going to do. But to lose Snell and Morton is huge, And obviously the Padres are, had an amazing offseason, But the biggest loser to me was definitely Tampa. I mean, the Cubs are there too. Cleveland's there. But I think Tampa losing those two pitchers is huge coming off a World Series.
All righty. So with the Mets, how significant with Cano being suspended? How do you think that's going to turn out for the second base position for the Mets?
Doesn't even bother me one bit. I hated the Cano deal when they made the deal. I thought Cano was over the hill when they traded for him. And yeah, he's had a couple of clutch hits here and there, but he's not the player he was in New York with the Yankees. He's not the player he was in his first couple of years in Seattle. They've got young guys, they can start J.D. Davis at third, put McNeil at second. McNeil can lead off, or Nimmo can lead off, and McNeil can bat second. That sets the table for Alonso and Smith and Lindor in the 3-4-5 spot. And Conforto, with a bat like Conforto, you can bat Conforto 6. I mean, his bat at the 6th spot. I think also the free agent signing they just signed Jonathan Villar. I think that's how you pronounce his name, right? Is it Villar? Yeah. Utility guys are always good. Yeah, Villar doesn't have a great bat, but he's like that guy that comes in the 7th and 8th inning, for defensive purposes. So they have that second base spot shored up, in my opinion. Also, Luis Guillermo, who's really quick. He's going to get some starts. He's going to bat like 8th or even 9th. If sometimes I know they put DeGrom in the 8th spot. So losing Cano to me is no big deal. I'm like, see ya. I don't even care if he comes back. Honestly, I mean, he's just a salary dump, and I think because he's suspended, his salary does not go against the cap. From what I read, I'm not sure if that's correct, but I think that's correct. I don't know.
All right, so so Nate has a question. How can Colorado and Texas not be losers in free agency? Don't trade loser with loser. That's my answer. That was. They pretty much swap players. They're pretty much past their prime, and I think the A's got the better deal of that because they got like $13 million out of that deal, so they're getting Elvis for free, pretty much with that deal. So with my winners and losers, I would have to say the Mets, Toronto Blue Jays, and of course the Dodgers with the Trevor Bauer signing with that. But the Toronto Blue Jays, not only did they sign get Joey Springer, but they also got Marcus Semien from the A's in free agency. I think that was a huge signing for the Toronto Blue Jays, and I think they're going to make a little noise out in the AL East with that. And I do think that they can actually pull off winning that division. That is my prediction. Also, they got Kirby Yates, even though he had 2 down years, but I think there were he was injured during those 2 years, but I think he's going to bounce back with that. But my biggest loser, to be honest, is going to have to be the New York Yankees. The reason I say that, yes, they did re-sign J.D. Mayhew to a deal, but it was a sweetheart deal. He signed 6 years for $92 million. Because I thought that was going to set them up to get Trevor Burrow at that time, but they really haven't got anybody since then. And I cannot count on the Yankees with Stanton Judge being healthy throughout the whole season with that. So what do you guys think of speaking of that, what do you guys think? Do you think Toronto could beat the Yankees in the AL East?
I really think so. I definitely think so. I think with their lineup they have, with the pitching they have, Ryu had a great year. Ryu's coming back. Who's the other guy? I'm blanking on the other guy they have in the pitching, but I know they also signed David Phelps to a 1-year contract, so they've got another decent arm in that lineup. But honestly, I mean, we all know pitching wins championships. If Toronto sets the bar and pulls out to enough of a lead, they're going to make a trade for that second or third line pitcher that they need for the playoff run. So I definitely think Toronto can beat them. All
righty, Greg.
Yeah, I definitely think that Toronto could make a push to take out the Yankees. They're pretty young still. I think they have 3 sons of former players. So I mean, the Biggio kid's really good. They just picked up Springer, who I thought was pretty much all world for the Astros for the past 2 or 3 seasons. Picking up Semien was a big pickup from the A's. I mean, he's still got plenty of game left, and he's pretty quick on the bases. So it's all going to come down to pitching. It seems like for the last few years, the Yankees have been bye when it comes to offense. They've been trying to put together an all-star caliber team with offense. And a lot of these teams, as we're seeing, are starting to want to try to make some moves and try to get better pitching. So I think that if Toronto can, pick up their pitching game, I think they got a good chance. They got a pretty good deep lineup now.
Oh yeah, I definitely agree with that. Yes, definitely agree with that. So moving along with the NL East. So last week we kind of highlighted the NL or the AL East. With the NL East, it's kind of tongue twister there between the AL and NL. So I'm going to start with Greg. Greg, who do you think is going to win that division?
You know, I was touching a little bit on the Phillies earlier about how I thought that they kind of dropped the ball, and you all disagreed with me, and I think that those were big pickups, signing Gregorius and Realmuto again. But I just don't think that the Phillies did quite enough to get over the hump to try to catch up with the Atlanta Braves or the Mets. But I think that in my heart, I feel like the Mets probably would be my pick right now, especially if they can get Syndergaard healthy by June. I mean, people don't understand that sometimes in trades, you think, okay, this player is top notch, and then the other players kind of come along, and sometimes it's that secondary player that's going to play the biggest role.
Okay.
Pickup in that trade was Carrasco. Picking up Carrasco along with Lindor was a huge pickup. I'm not a huge fan of all these, baseball stats and all these weird things that they come up with. But an interesting fact that I'd like to bring up is that Carrasco and DeGrom are probably going to be one of the most lethal 1-2 punches, because if you take them and they're both healthy, they have a combined WAR of over 9.1 WAR. So if they can hold true and pitch to that level, it's going to be a very tough for teams in the NL East to keep up with them. So I think that if they can get Syndergaard healthy and Carrasco pitches to form, Marcus Stroman, if his arm holds up, and DeGrom pitches his Cy Young caliber self, I think that the Mets are the team to beat. I know that the Atlanta Braves have a very potent lineup as well, and they have great pitching, but I don't know, in my heart, I feel like it's going to be the Mets.
Do you think that the Ozuna signing for the Braves, do you think that changes anything, or?
Yeah, I love Marcell Ozuna. He was a great solid player for the Cards. I hated to see him go. I think that does change. That puts, that much more pop back into the Braves lineup to be able to re-sign him and keep him in their lineup. I had to kind of toss a coin on this for a day or so, but I think it does change. I think that Atlanta does have a very tough lineup to deal with, but I think that if the Mets can get their pitching staff, I mean, they've got some good arms, and I heard that they may be even going after a Trevor Rosenthal to help with their bullpen. I heard that they might be looking at Odorizzi, on the market too, maybe as an extra arm. So, I mean, I think they're all in. I think their owner is all in, and I mean, he's won it now.
All right, UL. Do you agree with Greg with that one? And also, looks like in the comments we got a Braves fan by the name of Adam Barber there.
Well, I mean, obviously, as a Met fan, every year I think the Mets are going to win the division. But this year, I really think so. On paper, I think the Mets are the strongest team in this division, and I'll tell you why. Not only did they get Lindor, they've got Carrasco in that deal. James McCann is a huge pickup. Not enough people are talking about the James McCann signing. Putting him behind the plate, a better than average hitter and a better than average fielding catcher is huge for this pitching staff, because last year, their catcher, I can't remember who the catcher was. That's how bad he was last year, but they just haven't had a decent backstop in a while. So having him behind the plate, they picked up pitcher Joey Lucchesi and Trevor May, putting those guys in the lineup. Lucchesi, I know, could be a 5-starter, could be a long relief guy. Trevor May out of the bullpen is huge. And re-signing Marcus Stroman, I'm so excited that they re-signed Stroman. So now they've got a starting 4 of DeGrom, Carrasco, Stroman, and Syndergaard when he gets back. Seth Lugo is huge out of the bullpen, and Seth Lugo might become a starter. So either way, Lugo's got a great arm. Diaz, I think, has finally figured it out. I hope so, because when Diaz is on, he's unhittable. But like every closer in the league right now, there hasn't been a closer like Mariano since Mariano retired. So every closer has his good and bad days. But if they can stay healthy and stay to form, the Mets should definitely win this division. I think their biggest challenge is going to be the Braves. The Braves have got great young pitching, as we saw in the playoffs last year. Travis d'Arnaud, former Met, has excelled with the Braves. A lot of former Mets leave the Mets and they excel with other teams. So seeing d'Arnaud play every day and hitting the ball out of the park with the Braves was killing me. Acuna Jr. and Freeman are two beasts in that lineup. The Braves have got great players as well, but I don't know. I really think this could be the Mets year on paper. I'm not worried about Philadelphia. Washington is just, ever since the World Series, they haven't been able to keep up. So I know Zimmerman's retired. Scherzer's older. Strasburg is the only key to their team right now. And the Marlins are always a flash in the pan. So I could see the Marlins once again being a flash in the pan because no one goes to see them anyway. So, they were used to playing in front of nobody anyway. So to me, it's the Mets. It's the Mets and the Braves. It's going to come down to it.
All right. So one thing though with the with the Mets, I would have to go with the Mets as well because Marcus Stroman, he opted out to play last year, so he didn't play at all last year. So I think he's going to come. He's going to be refreshed. He's going to have a strong arm. I think the Mets are going to have a scary pitching rotation with that. And Edwin Diaz, I was sad when he left Seattle. He was sugar, as they call him. But one thing that really attracted me to the Mets last year was during actually the spring training when they actually had all the players mic'd up and everything. It was Donovan Smith and DJ Davis going at it on the mics. It was awesome. It was great. And speaking of spring training, do you guys think they should keep the players mic'd up?
Oh, definitely. Definitely. That stuff is priceless. To hear those guys goofing, to hear those guys talking smack during spring training, to hear those guys just, enjoying. They say baseball is a little kid's game, and to see these grown men who are making stupid amounts of money acting like little kids is definitely inspiring, and I think will help grow the game with the access that kids can hear their favorite ball players on the field and see what they're doing. I think it's a good thing to grow the game that way for sure.
Okay, so let's go back to the Washington Nationals. Do you think teams should really sleep on the Nationals because they got Josh Bell, they got Kyle Schwarber, Juan Soto, who was pretty good when he started off, and they re-signed Ryan Zimmerman. Do you think teams should really sleep on the Washington Nationals, Greg?
No, I don't think that they should. I mean, they were the world champs a couple seasons ago. They do have some pretty good players. And they do have some good pitching, although their pitching staff is getting a little bit up there, in years. They've been around for quite some time. They do still have one of the top-notch pitching rotations in the league. I don't think on paper they quite have as potent of a lineup as, say, Atlanta or the Mets in that division, but I definitely wouldn't take the Nationals lightly because they definitely have plenty of talent left in the tank. And Juan Soto, I think, is one of the top, in my opinion, one of the top 5 players. So you just can't count them out, at any time.
All right. Okay. What do you think of the Nationals? Should teams sleep on them? Because they also signed John Lester.
Yeah, John Lester doesn't scare me anymore. I mean, yeah, he's a lefty, but, he's up there. I mean, he'll give you maybe a good 4 or 5 innings, if that. But Washington's bullpen is terrible. In the World Series, a lot of those games, remember, were high-scoring games. They weren't great pitching matches. Strasburg has proven when he can be healthy, Strasburg is very good. I think Scherzer is finally past his prime. Scherzer has moments, but Scherzer hasn't really pitched that well in the playoffs. He didn't pitch that well in the World Series, if we remember. But I think it'll come down to Washington's bullpen really being their Achilles heel because, yeah, they've got a decent lineup. The Josh Bell signing is a good signing. Juan Soto is, definitely a top 5 player, but they don't scare me. I'm not looking at them, like, oh, it's Washington. The only team I'm worried about is Atlanta. I'll be really honest. Washington doesn't scare me.
All righty. Well, so I think we all agree on who's going to pretty much win the NL East is probably the Mets, with Atlanta biting at their heels throughout the season.
Right.
Do you think there's Atlanta and the Phillies can make a wild card?
I think Atlanta can. I think Atlanta can definitely make a wild card, and I would not be surprised if both the Mets and the Braves made the playoffs this year. I mean, there's still talk of possibly expanding the playoffs, so we don't know if it's going to be a normal playoff setup or if it's going to be an expanded playoff setup. If it's an expanded playoff setup, the Phillies might sneak in there as a 7 or an 8 seed, but if it's a normal seeding, no, the Phillies will definitely run short. I mean, their lineup can hold, but Zach Wheeler has proven to pitch well when he's healthy, but again, it's all about the health of that pitching staff in Philadelphia. I don't think they have enough bats to keep up with the Mets or the Braves.
Okay, Greg.
Okay, can you repeat that question one more time?
Do you think so? We all agree that the Mets will pretty much take the NL East this season. Do you believe that the Braves and the Phillies can make it into the wild card?
I definitely see the Braves as a wild card team. I also see the Padres as a tough wild card team coming up. I think they're going to finish maybe just a hair below the Dodgers again, even though they've got a revamped pitching staff. I could see the Phillies making a push, but like I was saying earlier, I don't think the Phillies did quite enough in free agency to really try to keep up. And I think they're going to fall a little bit short again this year. And I think that the following year, they're just going to have to open up the pocketbook and find some fresh arms and maybe pick up another impact position player.
All right. Well, that is awesome. All right. So on to our next topic. We know that there's a lot of movies out there. Can we agree?
Mm-hmm.
So going into that, I want to know what your guys' favorite baseball movie is. It can give me 1, 2, or 3. I'm going to start with Greg on this one. Greg, what do you think is the all-time best baseball movie?
Well, other than maybe Back to the Future, the movie that I've probably seen the most of is The Natural. I think that The Natural is probably, in my opinion, the best baseball movie. It's a beautiful story. It wasn't a beautiful story in the book. It had a completely different ending. But, I think that the way that they made the movie and Robert Redford and the supporting cast, very talented supporting cast, and just the scenery and showing baseball back in the day and about a middle-aged guy trying to come back into the picture and be relevant again in the game of baseball. I don't know. I mean, that's what I think is the best. I think that Major League is another one that's extremely funny and a good take, kind of a parody to show kind of the humor and stuff that can come with being in a baseball, being a professional baseball team. Of course, you can't overlook A League of Their Own. That's one of the classics. There's no crying in baseball. And I think probably the most overlooked or underrated baseball movie of all time is one of my faves. It's called For Love of the Game with Kevin Costner. I think that.
Nice.
I think that's pretty good. Pretty good movie. I think it's an understated classic. So I don't know, but I think my favorite of all time though would have to be The Natural.
The Natural. All righty. So in the comments, I see Andre Robinson commented in when we were talking about the NL East, and it looks like he's taking Atlanta. And Andre, I just want to let you know, if you want to win a free T-shirt, keep commenting and share and like. And you have a chance to win a free T-shirt from ASAP Network. With that being said, all right, UL. Let's see. What is your favorite movie, baseball movies?
Well, it's funny. My wife and I were talking about baseball movies last night for like an hour, and I'm like trying to put together a list. And she's like, well, you should do a top 5. And I'm like, right now I have like a top 11 list. So it's hard to narrow it down. These are not in any particular order whatsoever. I love the movie with Dennis Quaid, The Rookie. I love that movie. I don't know why. I just think it's great. This guy from a small town who gets that one last chance, when he ends up pitching in the majors, he pitches for Tampa Bay, the whole scene at the end where he's like, I hear that they need a sport jacket in the major leagues. His wife is like, what? Oh my God. So I love that movie. Field of Dreams. You don't need to explain that. It's just amazing movie. Although, from what I understand, there are some historical inaccuracies in that movie. I understand Shoeless Joe Jackson batted from the other side, but I think Ray Liotta batted the way he could bat. So I understand that is factually inaccurate. Major League is a classic, you know, great movie, Wild Thing. You know, you just gotta love that movie, especially at the end where Corbin Burnson just knocks out Charlie Sheen. You know, that's great. Moneyball is a phenomenal movie. Brad Pitt played a phenomenal part in that movie, playing Billy Bean. Really gave that part a lot of character. Jonah Hill is really great as I'm blanking on his part in the movie, but you know, the metrics guy, you know, that's the part he played. Great story there. 42, the Jackie Robinson story. I mean, Chadwick, God rest his soul, was a phenomenal actor. Chadwick really brought that role to life and really gave us a true insight of what Jackie Robinson had to deal with. A couple other movies, League of Their Own, The Natural, Bad News Bears is a classic baseball movie. Walter Matthau, you know.
Yeah.
I for some reason I love $1 Million Arm. I like the story of that movie. You know, going to India, having that whole contest. And two movies that I just like the story: Little Big League, and I like Rookie of the Year. You know, Henry Rowan Gardner. I like the part with that. And a Little Big League, where you know the kid ends up owning the Minnesota Twins and the trials and tribulations of that. You know, great movies. I'm sure there's some that I'm forgetting that I've never seen personally. You know, and it's weird, and I'm ashamed of this. I've never seen Bull Durham. I need to see Bull Durham. Never seen it.
I just watched that last night again. That's a good one.
I know. I heard it's classic. I've never seen that, and it's right on the screen right there. And I need to watch Prior to the Yankees. That's on my list of baseball movies I need to watch. I know 8 Men Out's good too. But yeah, those are my top, I guess, 11 movies. Just, you know, sorry I couldn't narrow it down, but I tried.
Man, I'm surprised one movie was not said. You're killing me, Smalls. I mean, The Sandlot. I mean, that had to be a classic. You got Scott Smalls, Benny, Squints. I think it was a great movie. And The Great Bambino. I thought that was a great movie, but that was not one of my favorite movies, even though I enjoy watching it. One of my favorite movies was The Little Big League. I like the concept how the kid's father who owned the Mets passed away. Then all of a sudden, look, Billy, you own the Twins. And he's like, but I don't want the Twins. And he became the manager of the Twins with that. And one of the biggest reasons I like that movie is because my Mariners beat the Twins in that movie at the end, towards the end of it.
I wanted to bring up one more movie as well, if I could.
Yeah.
Have you guys ever heard of a movie called The Final Season about the Norway high school baseball team that ended up having to merge with another high school, and they won the championship? I think they won over 10 baseball championships or something.
No, is it a like a regular movie or is it a documentary?
No, it's a regular movie. Norway High School, Mike Boddicker pitched for them, won a championship in the early 80s
with the Orioles.
Yeah, and there was a few guys that made it into the major league system, AAA and stuff. So Norway, they put together many championships. They had a really good coach, but they wanted to get rid of the coach because they didn't want the team to win, because they were all bent on trying to merge. And if they felt like they would have a winning season, then they felt like no one would want to merge the two schools together. So it came down to a lot of finances. And so they had the assistant coach, and they put low expectations because he hadn't really had any coaching experience really at the head coaching level. And then they ended up having kind of a not so great team, on paper, but then they ended up making a good run and touched up on their fundamentals and made one last run for a final championship. So that's another good one to check out.
Right. Let me write that down. The Final Season. I'm gonna check that out. Yeah, that sounds cool.
Yeah.
And Will Post.
It's got Powers Booth in it as the head coach. The head coach of the team, once he is forced to kind of resign, he ends up coaching in the Detroit Tigers organization as a talent scout and a pitching coach. So
cool.
It's pretty good.
Very cool.
That is awesome. So Will Polson joined the show. Welcome, Will, to the full count. He said Major League bench warmers, which was a
bench
good
warmers.
Yeah. Sandlot 42, and the Little Big League is getting a lot of love tonight. That's all I gotta say. Hey, Greg, you brought up For the Love of the Game. I just put that movie on TBS. I did not read the description or anything on it, and it became one of my all-time faves baseball movies after watching it, because he's a pitcher who's ready to trying to keep going. He's ready to retire, and he's pitching against the Yankees. And guess what? He's pitching a perfect game, and during that time, he's going through the trials and tribulations of as a big leaguer and trying to get family life with that. And I thought that was a great movie, and I love the ending of it with throwing that ball to, I believe it was his wife on that one. And also I love Major League. Willie Mays Hayes. That's probably my favorite character of all of that movie. Takes a hot shot, tries to hit a home run, then it just goes 2 feet on the pop fly or something like that. Then you got the catcher who couldn't throw to second base unless he has a certain type of magazine in front of him, and he was pinpoint on that. But one of the other movies I liked was Mr. Baseball with Tom Selleck. I think that was great.
Yeah. That is a great movie when he goes to Japan. Wow, I totally forgot about that, man. Wow.
Yeah, when he goes to Japan, he sits in that little tub there, and that's actually the bath or the toilet for the tub, but he was using it as a hot tub and everything else. I thought that was great with that. So, but I've seen Moneyball. That movie was kind of long and drawn out. I read the book of it, but I enjoyed it. I know it wasn't really action-packed and so much, but I did enjoy how they put it as historic with that. And also, you can't forget about Hardball.
Yeah, Keanu Reeves.
With Keanu Reeves, anything with Keanu Reeves is golden. That's all I.
Whoa, I can play baseball. I'm sorry, that was terrible, but
And I know Field of Dreams was mentioned, and I believe that is actually that field is put on actually on 2 farms. One farmer doesn't like it, and the other farmer does because it brings in the money. But I do know someone personally who actually was in a semi-pro senior league team, and he actually pitched there. I think he pitched to Frank Robertson when he was there as a during a pregame or something like that. So I thought that was pretty cool.
They were supposed to play a game there this past season. Obviously, it didn't happen because of COVID, but I heard that they were planning on actually playing a real Major League Baseball game there.
Yeah, I wonder how they're going to make the stadium if that does happen. I mean,
I don't know. I mean, I read I forget who the teams were supposed to play, but they were supposed to play a national game there. They were going to build like a stadium, like a small, like a minor league kind of thing, very basic, very simple stands, simple fence, with I guess the smallest Major League thing you can do, that wouldn't make it, that would try not to make it a bandbox, but obviously, you put center field at 370, 380, hell, I could probably hit that out.
All right. And Suzanne joined the show. I just want to say, she says, hi guys. We want to say hi back. And also if they have that game, I think the concessions are going to have like fried corn husk and popcorn because it's out in the cornfield. Bad joke. I know.
Cool.
All right. So with that being said, we're going to hit to our next topic. I don't know how many stadiums you guys been to. I've been to a few. My wife and I actually not my wife. I have a bucket list to hit every single major stadium before time comes. You all, what baseball parks have you been to, and what's have been the best?
Okay, all right. This is actually very interesting because I'm a musician, and when COVID's not happening, I tend to be on the road a lot, touring, going to different cities. So I always try to, if I'm ever in a city that has a major league, even a minor league stadium, I'll go and take the tour. I like taking the tour because you get to see, the locker rooms, the press boxes, the field levels, sometimes the bullpens. One of my favorite tours I did was the Great American Ballpark in Cincinnati. Really nice stadium, right on the water. Great setup, great facilities, and the bullpen was very cool. And we actually got to pitch in the bullpen. Like part of the tour was pitching in the bullpen. So that's up there for me. The stadium in Washington, D.C. is cool because what you do is you take the train to the stadium. You get off street level, and the stadium's actually built into the ground. So when you walk up to the stadium, you're actually at the top level, and you have to walk down to get to the bottom level of the stadium. So you're actually looking down into the stadium. So that's a really nice one. Yankee Stadium was always great. The old Shea Stadium is great. The new Citi Field is beautiful. The new Marlins Park here is, it's nice. It's indoors. So when you go to a ball game in August and it's 95 degrees outside, you're sitting in air conditioning. So, that's okay. Where the Braves play is really nice. I haven't been to the brand new one, but Turner Field was really cool. And that was cool because they had a stand outside where Hank Aaron's 715th home run landed. So they had like a memorial for that. So that was really interesting. Fenway Park. I've never actually been inside Fenway Park, but I've been to that whole area. And, Fenway's classic. I've actually been to a couple stadiums out west. I've been to where the Arizona Diamondbacks play, Chase Field. That's really interesting with the roof and all that. I've been to Petco Park in San Diego. That one's really nice. The old Texas ballpark at Arlington I've been to. Trying to think. Oh, I've been to Kauffman Stadium in Kansas City. But I was there way back in 1985. I'm showing my age. My uncle lived out in Kansas City when the Royals were in the World Series, and I flew out there as a kid to go to one of the World Series games. And it was even nice then. It's nicer now, from what I understand. So that's definitely up there. As far as stadiums go, the one I really want to go to is Wrigley Field. That's like I have to go to Wrigley Field just to experience that old ballpark, the Ivy. I know they shot parts of League of Their Own there, so that's on my list of where to go. But I've never been to Safeco. I heard Safeco is beautiful in Seattle. I heard that's a great stadium. I've only seen it from the outside. When we flew into Seattle, I saw that. But that's my stadium story, and there's more on my list, but I'm drawing a blank right now.
All right. So what if there could be two expansion teams, one NL, one AL? What cities would you put these teams?
Greg, you want to go first?
Yeah, I'll go first. I was talking a little bit before the show. I think that for the American League, I'm really getting a good vibe. I don't think that the expansion is going to happen anytime soon, but I do think that if it does happen, within the next few years, I could see Las Vegas. They're picking up steam. They've got the money. They're getting some pro sports in there. They got the Raiders. They got the Knights. I think they're ready for baseball. You could give the team a name that has anything to do with gambling. So I think that on the AL side, Las Vegas is a good bet. For the National League, I have a couple spots. I think that Nashville would be a pretty good fit in the National League for an expansion team. I think that they got pretty good people interested in baseball. Another one that's been brought up for the National League, kind of sounds like a country song, you're going to miss me when I'm gone, is Montreal. For some reason, they seem to be crying about wanting to have baseball back. They didn't seem to be too interested when they had baseball, but now that it's been taken away from them and they relocated to Washington, I think that they're wanting baseball back. So I could see Montreal making a push, trying to get back into the league. But I don't know. A buy-in is pretty expensive. I think it's like $1 billion or something like that to bring in a team to expansion. So I don't know. I'm hoping to see 32 teams at some point, but I don't know if it's going to happen soon. But those are my best bets.
Interesting choices. I do agree with you about Montreal. I think Montreal is desperate to have a baseball team back there, and I do think Tampa will move there. Their lease is up in about 3 or 4 years. I think I heard Ira Kaufman, the journalist, talk about that. So, and that city is not going to build them a stadium. They're not going to renew the lease. Tropicana Field is a dump, so I could definitely see Tampa moving to Montreal. So Montreal might become an American League city unless Tampa moves over to the NL, like the Astros moved to the AL. So that's definitely a possibility. Vegas, I kind of like, but I don't know. I don't know about Vegas for baseball, only because, that would have to be a completely indoor stadium with not really much outdoor playing. At least in Arizona, sometimes you can play a little bit outdoors, but Vegas, I mean, it gets stupid hot in Vegas in the summer. So I don't know if they're going to build an outdoor stadium or an indoor outdoor stadium. One city I really like is Indianapolis. I like Indianapolis. I think the Midwest can really support a sports team. Indianapolis, it's not, it's not far from other major cities. It's still within driving distance. The Notre Dame, the people that, in South Bend can definitely support that kind of team. The city itself can support it. The Colts are huge there. The Pacers do well there. I could definitely see them doing well with the baseball team. I like Portland. I've always loved Portland as a Northwest team. I think Portland could do really well. Oregon is starving for pro sports. I mean, they love the Oregon Ducks. They love Oregon State. The Trailblazers do really well in basketball. I think Portland can be a great major league city. Nashville, you said Nashville, definitely. Nashville is definitely, or Memphis. Either city in Tennessee could definitely support a pro sports team. I think Carolina might be something. Charlotte might be a possibility too. The reason I say that is because I know there's a lot of money in Carolina, and there's a lot of people that would support those type of teams. The Panthers, their season tickets are basically sold out. The Bobcats do very well. Not the Bobcats. They're the Hornets again. I'm sorry, I made a mistake there. And the hockey team, the Hurricanes in Raleigh-Durham, do extremely well. So a baseball team could survive in Raleigh-Durham because you've got both colleges of North Carolina and Duke. The hockey team does well there. A baseball team can definitely survive in Charlotte. So those are a couple ideas to throw out. I don't see anything else in the Midwest though. As far as the middle of the country, I can't see anything in Iowa or in Kansas. Because Kansas City is technically in Missouri. Actually, no, the stadium's in Kansas. That's right. I take that back. But Nebraska, I couldn't see that. None of those type of states. And then if you go up to Montana and Wyoming, no, that you can't do it there. So those are my ideas.
All right. So Nathan, he mentioned about a team in Orlando. Do you think Tampa Bay can go to Orlando?
I don't know. And the reason I say that is because I know Orlando pretty well. I'm only about 3 hours south of there. And, they've got the arena, the Amway Arena that's built in downtown Orlando. It seems like in order to build a really successful ballpark, you need to build it in a downtown area where there's shopping and restaurants and socialization. There's not enough land space in Orlando. So I could not see it working there. I think Florida, and plus Florida sports fans tend to be very transient, especially with new ball clubs. The Miami Dolphins have been around since the 60s, so Dolphins fans are very, dedicated to them. Even Heat fans are very transient because a lot of us, like myself, came from New Jersey, New York, and jumped on the Heat bandwagon basically because the Knicks sucked. So that's why I became a Heat fan when I moved here, So there's that. I can't see Orlando working. Just my opinion.
All right. All right, Chase, welcome to the show. I see that you're asking Nate about the new stadium with, I believe, with Texas, the Home Depot Stadium, which I call it. So great. We haven't got to you. What ballparks have you been to, and which ones would you like to see?
Well, the only Major League Baseball park that I've ever been to, I talked about it a little bit with Nate the Great last night, was I went down to Angel Stadium with my ex-wife on our honeymoon and watched the Angels play the Tampa Bay Rays. We got there a little bit late on our flight, showed up. It was the middle of the third inning. Angels were up 4-1. Next thing you know, it's like 13-4 in the Rays' favor, and balls flying out of the ballpark. It was a pretty good experience. But that's my only major league ballpark that I've been to. But as far as ones that I'd love to see, of course, you got to go with the nostalgia. Fenway Park, Wrigley Field would be the top two that I'd want to see just because of the history. The history of there, the oldest ballparks. Of course, Busch Stadium. You got the arch. That you can see from the catcher's plate right behind the center field. I mean, beautiful sight. Like Joel was talking about, Kauffman Stadium. It's a beautiful stadium. It needs some touch ups, but that would be another one that I'd like to see. I'd really like to go see the Field of Dreams. If they build that stadium, I don't know. Like you guys were talking about, they were wanting to play a game there this season, but I don't think it's going to happen. But I'd love to go check that place out. PNC Park in Pittsburgh, I think that'd be great, kind of overlooking the Allegheny River. Then you can see a little bit of, downtown Pittsburgh, the city life and the Allegheny River, right behind it. So I don't know, that'd be a really nice one to see too. So I don't know. I mean, that's probably what I'd want to see first, is those parks.
Okay.
Cool.
All right. Well, I'm going to start with my expansion teams. I like to see Montreal be back because that's where Pedro came from, Larry Walker, and also Randy Johnson. I think there's history there with the Expos. I think if it wasn't for that strike, they were supposed to make it big in the playoffs. Before that strike happened and so forth. So I like to see the Expos come back.
94 killed them. Yeah, that was the basically 94. They were on the way. Definitely, yeah.
Yeah, and they had the big cat, Andres Galarraga. I remember that guy. He went to the Braves.
Yeah.
I actually
Randy Johnson was still with them.
Oh yeah, I actually got to see those guys in spring training, and then I got to see them play minor league baseball in West Palm Beach when they were the West Palm Beach Expos. When they were really young, I got to see them when I was a kid, so that was really cool.
Yeah, that was pretty unfortunate. That's right.
Awesome.
I think the Expos could have made it.
Yeah, and I think on the AL side, I think bringing baseball to Vegas would probably be great, but it'll be tough because they have a few minor leagues team with the Reno Aces there and the Las Vegas Aviators there as well. But it works here in Seattle because down the street from T-Mobile Park is the Tacoma Rainiers, only about 30-minute drive with that. But also, I would like to see another Canadian team, also maybe Edmonton or somewhere around there up in the north, bring more Canadian teams back, or Vancouver and so forth. And you said there's nothing in Montana. I'm from Montana, and there's baseball in Montana. That's all I got to say.
Really?
League.
Oh, okay.
Yep.
I apologize. I did not know that. I had no idea about the Pioneer League. Wow. And that's big. That's big sky country up there, man. I've been to Great Falls, and that was a neat little town.
Oh, their stadium every stadium there in Montana is pretty old. But I know Adam Dunn. He came from Billings, Montana, through the minor leagues, and I was from Helena, Montana, where the Brewers kept their rookie ball there, and I saw Prince Fielder go through it. Ryan Braun went through there, and they didn't stay. They probably stayed a week. Yeah, they stayed a week because they stay in the stadium and so forth. But there's some big names that actually came from the minor leagues, like Ryan Sandberg. He came from Montana, and also Gary Sheffield. That's where he started his minor league career. Also, is with the Helena Gold Sox that they were called.
Wow. All right.
There.
Go Montana.
Yeah, I got to represent. But the stadiums I've been to, my very first stadium I went to was the Metropolitan Stadium in Minneapolis, where I saw the Twins with Torrey Hunter play against the White Sox with the Big Hurt and Kenny Lofton. Even though Kenny Lofton was kind of towards the end of his career, he was still pretty fast. Just watching that game, my biggest memory out of that was actually exiting the stadium. Like when you exit the main doors, like all that air that's trapped inside that stadium, it just literally just pushes you out. So yeah, like I have to brace for that. The other one I've been to was Chase Field. I enjoyed the roof. It was air conditioning. I went on Star Wars night, so I got my picture taken with Han Solo. So that was great. and seeing the Empire, Darth Vader, take over the field. That was pretty cool. I've been to Safeco Field when it was called Safeco. Now it's the T-Mobile ballpark. And I believe with that ballpark, it was like funded 90% publicly funded. So it was like pretty much fan funded or the city funded or state funded. I don't know how it was. But it's a pretty nice ballpark. That's the screenshot that I have up there right now is the T-Mobile park. And I sat right below that American flag signing right there. And also to the right, or no, actually to the little bit to the left of that right field pole, foul pole there. And I thought those were pretty darn good seats right past that foul pole. You could see pretty much everything there. And you get a lot of foul balls going your way with that one. But my favorite experience was going to Angel Stadium. I was out in the center field right next to the grass in that big rock there. And during the national anthem, you didn't know it was coming. All of a sudden, you hear these big booms, and it like startles you and everything else. And they're shooting off fireworks during the national anthem right next to you. And I was right behind Mike Trout, and that guy is huge. That one. And when Mike Trout hit that home run, like that ball went over, then these flames all of a sudden came out of that big rock. And I was like sweating because how hot it was with there. So that was probably my favorite experience. And it was pretty cheap as well because parking was like, what, $20 right next to the stadium. Yeah. So I was like, yeah, why not? But I gotta go with Greg. I want to see Fenway and Wrigley. And because of all the history there, and I hear that PNC is a great view. Like you can see the outside of the city outline of it when you're there at the park. And also, I've heard that Tiger Stadium, Comanche Park, is actually a pretty nice place to go to, even though it's in Detroit. So
it is nice. It's right next door to Ford Field, and it's like this beautiful, cute little stadium they actually cleaned up that area of Detroit, so it's not in a bad area of town. So it's like you can go there and then see Ford Field and do it all in one day.
Oh, awesome. And Nate said has a pretty good experience also that he just commented in saying that his favorite experience was delivering the game ball to the pitcher's plates in Globe Life Park. That's actually pretty cool.
Wow. There you go, Nate. There you go.
Yeah.
One thing that was cool about Angel Stadium when we went was that the Angels were getting beat so bad so that pretty much everybody was gone by like the middle of the 6th, 7th inning. And so some of the security guards were like, well, everybody's gone. So he was letting us work our way down. So we went from the left field stands, like the second deck. And then next thing you know, we're around the 8th inning. We're like 3 rows behind the dugout on the third baseline. So that was pretty cool, but it was scrub time too. So it was like 13-4, 14-4, but it was pretty cool getting to be able to read the letters off the third base coach's uniform. That was really nice.
It's like that. It's like that with the Marlins play. But basically, you could buy a ticket. Like you could buy a ticket in the upper deck and then sit wherever you want because nobody goes.
Yeah.
Me and a buddy of mine, we went on a Thursday afternoon in August. They call it the Businessman Special. We got tickets on like StubHub or something for like $5, and we ended up sitting like 4 rows from the field. I mean, it was just like there was like if there was 3,000 people there, it was that much. It was ridiculous.
Wow. Yeah, that's
Tim,
kind
of. How was the food cost when you went to Angel Stadium?
I don't remember. All my money went to Disneyland, to be honest with you.
Yeah. Well, my ex-wife, I think she spent like half of our Disneyland fund on the hot dogs and beer. I don't think those flight peanuts really satisfied her. So.
The crazy thing about Angel Stadium where that the center field with that rock and grass that's all fake grass. It's like that carpet grass that you could buy at Walmart or a hardware store. It's that fake carpet stuff. And when Mike Trout hit the home run, it landed 2 rows in front of us. And so we were pretty close getting that. So
I feel so bad for Mike Trout having to like deal with what he's dealt with, play on such a bad ball club. I mean, he's such an amazing ball player and he should be playing, in the spotlight more, but that's for another show, right?
Yeah,
that's for another show.
We'll get into So,
I think they'll make it past 500 this year, maybe.
Who knows? Who knows? Yeah.
all right, now it is time for the 3-2 pitch. So with this, we're going to do a hot takes. I'm going to give a name, a team, or a city, and I'm going to call one of you guys, and you give me one word on that. So with that being said, I'm going to start with Greg on this one. I'm going to start with James Paxton.
I'm gonna go with. I'm gonna go with comeback for my word for James Paxton. I think he's kind of had some injuries, had some setbacks, and I think that with his 1-year deal with Seattle, I think that there's a good chance for him to really prove himself. And if he can stay healthy, I think he might be able to really prove himself as a top tier pitcher again. So I'm going with comeback for that.
All right, UL. Milwaukee.
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Yeah, I'll give you a different one.
Okay, I thought I was getting the same one. No worries.
No, I'm going to say Milwaukee Brewers.
Milwaukee Brewers. I'm going to say underachieve. And the reason I'm going to say underachieve is because, Craig Counsell can manage. Don't sell Craig Counsell short. That guy can manage. And to have the talent they have on that team, they should be better than they are. Woodward's a great pitcher. They've got great bats in that lineup. Underachieve is what they've been doing, in my opinion.
All right, Greg. I got Justin Turner.
I'm gonna go with bold. He made some bold moves in the postseason this year. They kind of got after him for the celebration after the World Series and everything. But I think that he's a pretty bold guy, pretty outspoken guy, and that's why I'm going with him.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Once again, a former Met who's done very well with another ball club.
Well, I got
also
another.
Go with late bloomer.
Yes, late bloomer, exactly.
All right, I got another former Met for you, Matt Harvey.
Matt Harvey, disappointment. Matt Harvey had one good year. The year they went to the World Series, the Mets went to the World Series and lost to Kansas City. But what a complete disappointment he was. He came up with such bravado, had such good stuff coming up, and never really got to that point. And when the Mets cut him, it was like he was a pain. He was giving management problems, and it would just, as a Met fan, I was so disappointed that he didn't become like a Doc Gooden or like what DeGrom has become or what Syndergaard should become as long as he stays healthy. I was so disappointed, definitely, in Matt Harvey.
All right, so I'm going to give you one last one each. All right, Greg, the Colorado Rockies.
I'm going to go with wasteful for their word. I think that the Colorado Rockies are a team that is like, hey, we got this great guy. We got this legendary player. We want to get rid of him, and we're also going to pay for part of his salary. Nate hit it on the head. Disappointment. But I think that they're wasteful. They've had some opportunities. They've had some decent players in the past, and they've just wasted a lot of opportunities. And I don't know if the opportunity is going to come back anytime soon for them. But it just seems like they're. I would put mismanagement as another word, maybe, for them. But it just seems like they've been pretty wasteful in years past, just kind of wasting talent or getting rid of talent, that they should have held on to. So that's what I'd go with for them.
All righty. All right, UL, are you ready for this one?
I'm ready. Bring it.
The Yankees.
Yankees. Okay, this is a tough one for me. The word I'm going to use is, it's hard because, as a Met fan, I always want to see the Yankees do poorly. But my sister is a huge Yankee fan, so for her sake, I want to see the Yankees do well. The Yankees. I'm gonna say high expectations. I know it's 2 words. The Yankees always have high expectations because of their salary, because of the players they have. Judge, Stanton, LeMahieu. Those are their 1, 2, 3 in that lineup. If those guys stay healthy, the Yankees, they're incredible. Gary Sanchez, I think, is a key to that ball club because Sanchez is a horrible fielding catcher, but he can hit the snot out of the ball. So when he's hitting well, then they don't need him to be the great backstop that they need. But if he's not hitting, it definitely affects them. The Yankees definitely have pitching problems because they lost Tanaka. Tanaka went back to Japan, as we all know. So that's a huge hole in their pitching lineup. Paxton went to Seattle. Paxton couldn't, didn't pitch well for them. So I'd say high expectations because a lot of Yankee fans have high expectations, but I think the realization is I don't think this is going to be their year. I really don't.
All righty. Well, I just want to say to everyone who's been watching this show, Greg and you all, thank you for coming on. And to all those that were watching and commenting, thank you for watching and commenting. Just remember, when you comment, share, like the ASAP Network, even the show, you have a chance to win the free T-shirt. You cannot beat that free ASAP T-shirt. And with that being said, if you couldn't catch us during the live broadcast, you can always go onto Anchor, look up ASAP Sports Network, and you won't be watching us live or the video, but you can actually listen to us through there. We're on there. We're also on other platforms, Twitch, YouTube, Twitter, and so forth. And just listen and enjoy with that. So with that being said, I just want to say thank you for everyone coming on and commenting. And I hope everyone has a good night.
All right.
All sports, all plays. All sports, all plays. All sports, all plays. 365, we making a plays. You talking the game, get you through the days. Great eye in the court, the dime in the lane. Variety, topics never the same. All presentation, sports information. In the airways, taking the nation. All sport, all plays, like working your faces. Grace at the field, so type the laces. All sports, all plays. Network. All sports, all plays. Network. We on top of our game. All sports, all plays. All sports, all plays.